Good evening, everyone. Welcome to KMVT's 2010 Los Altos City Council Candidates Debate. I'm Karen Greguras, and I'm going to be your moderator for the next couple of hours. We're coming to you live in the studio, and we'd like to invite you at home to participate along with us by calling into the station with your questions for the candidates. The phone number here is 968-1540. Now, we have 5 candidates vying for 2 open positions on the Los Altos City Council, and tonight we have 4 of those candidates with us: Nancy Carlson, Valerie Carpenter, Curtis Cole, and Jared Fishpaw. You can get their candidate statements and learn more about each person by visiting the KMVT website at kmvt15.org. So welcome to you all, and thank you for being here tonight. Now, without further ado, let's get started. Let's talk about our downtown and other commercial areas first. There seem to be a contingent of residents who very much want to keep the town as it has been for the last 30 or 40 years. Then there is a growing contingent of newer residents, many of whom have young families, who would like to see the changes in Los Altos. So the question is, how will you balance the needs of all of the residents in Los Altos? So, Nancy, would you like to start?
I'd love to start. I think the best way to balance the needs is to find out what the residents really want. We've talked, a number of us have talked about getting a group of residents together and having formal facilitated visioning sessions where we can find out what the residents want, identify what some of the options are for downtown, to grow our revenues, and to bring in the types of retail facilities that residents want to see. So I believe that the first step is to have a visioning session to actually get the participation from the residents, find out what the residents want to see.
Okay, good. How do the rest of you, anybody want to respond?
Yeah, certainly. I agree with Nancy and where she's going. I think it's very important that we do have a visioning process and that we actually include all of the interests of the community in that process. I think a lot of people are afraid of what that change might mean for the downtown, but I believe when done properly, when you expose what the trade-offs are, we can actually have a vibrant downtown, we can attract new retailers, we can still maintain the unique character that Los Altos has, different than any other community on the peninsula here. So I believe that visioning process, when done properly, can actually lead us to a place where we actually have a vibrant downtown and the citizens are happy with it.
Okay.
I think it's very important to remember that downtown Los Altos is not a static downtown. Right now, downtown Los Altos is changing. It's dynamic. Los Altos downtown has had a lot of our businesses move out of the downtown. And while there is a great desire to hold the character that our downtown has, it's important to remember that that character will be held in Los Altos if we maintain Main Street and State Street. Downtown also has a lot of potential, and I think that that's what a lot of our residents are looking at and saying, where is our potential and how can we take advantage of that potential from the level of City Council, attracting the right developers into our town and explaining effectively what it is that our town would like to work towards.
Ms. Carpenter.
I think a lot of what we need to do downtown has already been done and is underway. We have gone through a several-year public process that I chaired, the Downtown Development Committee, that has resulted in zoning changes that are encouraging the redevelopment of the north and south ends of the downtown triangle while preserving Main Street's cherished appeal. Those zoning changes are now in effect, and they are having a significant impact on new construction downtown. I live just a few blocks from downtown, and there's more new construction beginning or underway than I can remember in the 20 years that we've lived there. There is a new hotel that's been approved. There is a new condominium development of 48 units that's going in on First Street where the old post office is. There will be a mixed-use retail and Class A office facility at First and Main. A new Safeway is being proposed that will double the size. There are streetscape improvements going in on First Street and San Antonio Road and the intersections of Second and Third and Main and State. And the new Packard Foundation corporate headquarters is under construction as well. There's a lot happening as a result of the processes the current council has put into place. And we also have an opportunity study for the parking plazas that is got an environmental impact report underway. That should come back to us soon, where we can look at adding even more retail and office space. We basically have the opportunity we need to bring more foot traffic to downtown Los Altos than we have. And the way to do that is through more office, more housing, and the hotel, and those things will help us to have more people, to attract more restaurants and retailers that will revitalize downtown from where we are today.
Okay, anybody else want to respond?
Yeah, I do. I agree with Val that a lot of good work has been done. but I think what we're missing is an ability to answer the question, have we done enough? And I'd be afraid to just wait 5 or 10 years just to see what happens with the changes that have been made already. What we're missing, I think, is a good economic analysis that says, with the zoning changes that we have, will we attract the appropriate amount of office or residential to provide the foot traffic that we need downtown for the retail? So I think we need to do that economic analysis, and I think that the city has some of the skills required for that, and I'd like to see us do that process.
Okay.
I also think that it's really important to remember that the downtown visioning process that has occurred has occurred in singular areas. When we look at our community civic center and we look at the downtown, the city of Los Altos owns 18 acres right across the street from the downtown, and also owns 7 acres through the parking plazas that are fully paid off and owned by the city. So as we look to rezoning and revitalization, when the new environmental impact report comes back, I think it'll be very important that we do not consider what has been done to be completely adequate, that we need to be creative when we look at this 25 acres that the city owns on both sides of San Antonio and understand how we can best utilize that space. I also think that it's important to highlight that the new intersection improvements that are happening in downtown along Main and State Street. One thing that I would really like to encourage is that the city of Los Altos works to instill a pride of ownership in the buildings that are on Main and State Street, that the building owners that are there feel that the city is investing in their properties, and that it's not going to be the government alone that's going to make the downtown become a vital place. It's going to require cooperation between the private property owners and the city to develop that pride of ownership.
Well, let me follow up on that, because the health of the downtown retail seems to be cyclical. Some say it's dying, some say it's being revitalized. How important a role does the city play, or is it the city's job to fix a downtown? Is the downtown broken? Val?
Well, I'll start. I think that we're all concerned about the number of vacancies that we have downtown now. I will say that we have some signs of hope that current long-standing businesses have been sold recently to others and remain open, and new businesses are still choosing to open in downtown Los Altos because of our terrific, really unparalleled demographic characteristics, our citizens. So I think that there's hope, but I think we need to do a few more things. I think we need to attract the foot traffic. We need more office. As I said, we need larger retail spaces, which we will get from the First and Main development and the Safeway redevelopment, to allow us to attract national retailers or regional retailers and restaurants. All of those things, I think, are important for us to continue to pursue while we wait out this great recession that has affected all of our businesses. I think we're all concerned, but I think there's hope, and I think we're moving forward in all the right directions.
Okay, good, thank you.
I want to follow up on that. It's true that cyclically the businesses are cyclical there, but if you look in the long term, you'll find that Los Altos has not been keeping track with the growth in population or economics in the Santa Clara Valley. And that says it's really still, as Jared alluded to, about our 7 or 25 acres of underutilized land, is an underutilized asset for the community and for the retailers that are there. So I think it's very important that the city have a role and recognize they have a key role in managing the downtown. They are not a Stanford or a Santana Row where they own all the properties and can command and control things. However, they play a very important role in the kind of environment that they create, and therefore what kind of retail businesses are attracted to. And Los Altos needs to promote and needs to advertise that they're a business-friendly community and put in place policies that do that, so that the landowners and the retailers there can attract the right kind of businesses.
Okay, let's move on to another part of the city, another commercial district. How does the council determine how to spend limited public resources equitably throughout Los Altos? Specifically, how is fair share allocation determined for the south end of Los Altos, like Loyola Corners? Nancy, you want to pick that one up?
That's a tough question, and I have not been on council before, I'm not sure what the answer to that question is.
Okay.
Actually.
Anybody else? Jared.
I think that with the fair allocation of resources in Los Altos, it's important to remember that there are not just the downtown, not just Loyola Corners. There are 7 commercial districts in our city, each one of them providing very unique services to our residents. Altos Oaks, for instance, provides one of the largest health services, dental, as well as the Palo Alto Medical Foundation is investing there as well. And each one of these commercial districts requires proper investment. One of the reasons that the downtown is discussed so much is because it's our largest commercial district. It has the largest land, and many people believe it has the largest potential. As far as the government resources being spent fairly throughout all 7 commercial districts, I do believe that it's important to remember that South Los Altos is part of our community. South Los Altos is an important part of our city, and that's why we need to pursue investments in those areas, like the new streetscapes project that the city is looking at right now.
So I personally try very hard to make sure that we spend our money equitably throughout Los Altos. We go through an extensive budgeting process every year on the City Council, and it's been every year for the past few years. And in that process, we prioritize our capital improvement projects. We have a long list of those. Not everything can get done at once, but we have been working our way through what we believe are the top priorities of our citizens. So we have a streetscape plan for Loyola Corners specifically that's been approved. It is unfunded. We need $1,500,000 to fund that. But we do have the plan in place to do that. We've spent, I think, over $500,000 refurbishing Woodland Library in South Los Altos in the past year. So we look to balance that. Myself, I've been part of voting for all the new playground equipment in our city parks, the streets, the Safe Routes to School grants that we've gotten that now total $2.3 million, which have allowed us to improve the Safe Routes to School, meaning the crosswalks, the raised crosswalks near many of our schools with the flashing lights, as well as all of the raised flashing crosswalks across San Antonio Road. So we've prioritized what we think is the most important, which are the playgrounds for our children, the safety of pedestrians and bicyclists along our major thoroughfares, and improving our library, and then the streetscapes as a part of that. So I think we've done a lot. I think there's always more to be done than we have dollars to do, but we're continuing to move forward on those priorities that our residents tell us are most important.
Okay, good. Well, our KMVT crew went down to Main Street and interviewed some folks in a Man on the Street who have questions that they want to ask. So let's find out what they want to know.
I volunteer down at the Los Altos Farmers Market, and I was wondering what would you do to fix the problem about people's cars getting towed, and how you could make the signs bigger, and how could you advertise the festivals and other stuff down here so people can get more business and draw more attention to all the stuff down here.
Okay, who would like to answer that question first? Nancy?
I'd love to start. We do hear a lot of complaints from residents about cars that are ticketed and towed when we have city events, and obviously we have to have city events. People want to have the farmers market, they want to have downtown events and activities for families and children, and the police department has done an excellent job, I think, of posting the no parking and the event signs for residents. I've heard stories of residents who have actually been informed through notices that they were parking in a towing zone. They've parked there anyway in front of the post office. The police came into the post office to let the residents know that towing was going to be occurring within the next couple of minutes, and the residents didn't want to lose place in line. So we have to have accountability for what's posted.
Curtis, how would you like to answer
I agree.
Ted?
I've heard the same story as well. And the police department is doing a fine job. And gosh, I hope everybody in Los Altos knows there's a farmer's market on a Thursday, and they know if they're going to park there next to the signs that say no parking, that they understand what's going to happen. I feel really bad for the high cost of those people who did get ticketed. I'd rather none of that happen. But I know that our police department has done a fine job of notifying people and trying to give them a chance to move their cars. I'd like to see the city look at maybe some new technology, actually, for ways to communicate out to the rest of the city to inform citizens about the events such as the farmers market and other events that we have throughout our business districts to get more people to show up. Because I still think there are a lot of people in the community who are not connected enough with all the great things that are going on in Los Altos.
Jared.
Yeah, I'm actually delighted that the first question asked this evening is about an event that I've helped coordinate for the last 7 years. The Farmers Market, the movie nights in downtown, and the Los Altos Art and Wine Festival are three really special events that really define the community of our town. I think it's unfortunate that cars do get towed, and it's part of doing business on streets that cars park on. I've seen a number of cars get towed over the years, and one thing that I have seen is an excellent relationship between the organizations that are hosting these events and the police department. We've increased the signage that we do post on these streets. We post more than 3 times the state required signage on those streets. We've also reformatted the signage so that the cost of a car being towed is actually printed directly on the sign to help try to inform residents. I think that it's a wonderful thing that our city does provide these events to our residents. And while the towing of cars is unfortunate, the events themselves are what help drive business in the downtown, are what help get feet on the street during those times. And I think that it's delightful that our community recognizes this, and that's one of the first questions asked is how are we going to promote the businesses, how are we going to promote these events with the understanding that towing of cars causes some problems.
And again, I'd just like to commend our police department and in fact all of the Los Altos city staff for their very customer-friendly attitudes. They bend over backwards, I have to tell you, to make sure that our residents and our visitors really feel welcome in Los Altos, throughout Los Altos, not just in downtown Los Altos. And we've redesigned the signage, for example, as I think Jared alluded to help make it even more clear where cars need to be moved before they get towed. And it is an expensive ticket. We're aware of that. It's $571, so it's good if you don't park there because that includes the towing fees as well as the $54.50 ticket that you get for violation. But we need the events. I'm on the Los Altos Village Association Board of Directors. We put on 60-some events, I think, a year downtown. And cars need to move out of the way if we're going to put them on our public parking plazas or our public streets. So it's regrettable, but I think it's something that we need to work as hard as we can to make sure no one gets ticketed, and I think our staff do a terrific job.
I wonder about the idea of a shuttle going from various parts of, during these events, that would go from various parts of Los Altos to take people up at certain bus stop areas and taking them downtown. Is that?
I'll take that one.
Do.
So, I think it's a really interesting idea. I haven't heard it suggested as much before. I'm in the Los Altos Rotary Club. We put on the Fine Art in the Park show every May. Where we get many, many visitors. And we, in fact, run a shuttle from Los Altos High School and from Gardner-Bullis to the show for not only artists, but for people who want to park, because, of course, we close University Avenue between Main Street and West Edith for the duration of the weekend of the show, which is always the weekend after Mother's Day in May. So I think it's a great idea to look at. Funding would be challenging. Perhaps there would be some grant money to let us do a pilot program. Always in favor of getting grant money. We have a new grant writing committee. Perhaps that's something that they could look at is coming up with some funding to help us experiment with that to see if people would really use it.
Okay, great. We've got somebody who has called in and they have a question for one or all of you. So let's see if we can talk to them. Caller? See if we... Okay, no? Okay. So it looks like we can just keep on going. Does anybody else have any other thoughts about what to do with the...
Jared.
Well, I'd like to put in a plug here for people to call in and encourage you to call in.
Right.
I think it would be great to hear from you here this evening, and that would certainly be delightful. As far as the shuttles in Los Altos, I just wanted to quickly address my understanding and my experiences with shuttles. At the Los Altos Village Association's Los Altos Art and Wine Festival, which is the second weekend in July every year, we do have a shuttle that runs from the high school to the downtown. I think it's important to understand that that shuttle is very effective and is used for that event, but it might not be appropriate for the entire year for a shuttle to be running. We find that shuttle gets used because that's one particular area where we have very high demand for parking. But I'm not convinced that a shuttle would be appropriate for the entire year. I think that we have relatively adequate parking in our downtown today for the amount of foot traffic that we have in the town. I would love to have a true parking problem in our downtown, because it would mean that we would actually have more people in our downtown. So I'd love to work towards a time when we have no parking in the downtown. But today we do have very good parking in the periphery of the downtown and the plazas.
And the only people who would not agree with you are Ted and the people who get booted and ticketed. All right, well, let's move on to another part of Los Altos, and it's actually an extension. It's not part of Los Altos, but it is something that people have been talking about. As you know, the Sears at the San Antonio Shopping Center will become a Home Depot in the near future. So I have a question for you. Should the City Council be involved in this massive redevelopment plan for the San Antonio Center? And if so, how? Curtis.
Yes, absolutely. I think it will have some effect on Los Altos, this proposal for a project at San Antonio and El Camino. But I don't think it'll have a detrimental effect. I think it can, if done right, actually enhance the Los Altos properties that across the street, across the El Camino from it. And in fact, I think Los Altos should encourage Mountain View and the project planners there to embrace the Grand Boulevard designs for El Camino, which would involve a pedestrian-friendly combined shopping area all along El Camino, and would include, therefore, some of our business districts along El Camino and the Sherwood Triangle right across there. So I think there's actually an opportunity, and we should get involved in that and not let it slip away.
Can I just add on to that?
Sure.
The City Council and staff have already been involved with the City of Mountain View in their various plans that have been proposed for that San Antonio Center that exists right across the street from Los Altos in Mountain View. And I think the impacts are going to be variable. I think it's going to be a great thing for revenues to the schools because property values will go up, property tax will go up, and that will generate more revenue to both the City of Mountain View and the Los Altos School District, as well as the Mountain View Los Altos High School District. There will be more school children there, which means there will be more traffic, which means that will be another effect we need to take into account. How much impact it will have on downtown Los Altos businesses, I think, remains to be seen. A Home Depot may have some impact on our hardware store downtown, which I would be sorry to see. I know a lot of people who love our hardware store and the Los Altos hardware store and go to it often. But it depends on the other mix of businesses that they have, how much it will affect downtown Los Altos, and it could be argued that a brand new retail center controlled by one owner will complement what we have, the uniqueness that we have in downtown Los Altos. It's certainly going to look a lot different. And I just want to say one more thing. I don't think that downtown Los Altos can compete with the malls, which this may be like. On the basis of selection of stores, we just don't have the physical area for the selection of stores, but I think we can come up with we can attract the cream of the crop with our demographics. We should be able to bring in really high quality retailers and destination restaurants if we have large enough spaces in downtown, which is what we're working on building right now.
I'm going to follow up on that question a little bit, because the Los Altos School District includes portions of the City of Mountain View. So I'm piggybacking on what you just mentioned. And these have been zoned for future high-density housing, most notably the San Antonio corner. So it appears that the City of Mountain View has made no provision for an elementary school to service this area, with the possibility of future increased traffic into Los Altos, and then difficult school attendance boundaries, not to mention the extra impact on at least 2 of our schools in the district. So what do you think is the role of the Los Altos City Council with respect to zoning decisions in Mountain View that have an impact on Los Altos, similar to what you were mentioning about the Home Depot?
I think as an exercise in community building, the Los Altos City Council needs to actually help the school districts, actually carry forward the message to the Mountain View planners when they're evaluating that project, and bring forward that message that says, hey, there are impacts, there are going to be traffic impacts, there are going to be school impacts, and there are some positive impacts maybe on taxes to the schools as well. And so I think it actually has to play a role there. And in the end, it's a problem that the City Council, as representative of its portion of the government, is going to share the problem with the school districts and is going to have to be involved in dealing with the issues. Finding land for traffic mitigation, if there's going to need to be another school north of, in the northern parts, then do something there. But as I looked at the last plans, I think there were only about 380 units there in the San Antonio project, and it's about a 15% or so for students, so it may be 40 students. It'll apply pressure in Los Altos, but it's not going to break the school district.
I think that one thing this really brings up is the role of our City Council when dealing with issues that are in the neighborhood around our schools. Los Altos High School and Mountain View High School are expecting around 900 new students to be added to those 2 schools in the coming years. And what I think we really need to pay attention to is how is the City Council going to be dealing with the situations around the schools? The high schools in particular have parking issues that surround the school and fall into the role of our City Council. Currently today, the practices that are employed include posting of no parking signs, which have pushed this problem into a larger portion of the community, leading to very little alleviation of the actual situation. And I think that is something we will need to revisit in the near future to understand how can we really work with the school board, work with the residents in the area to really work with the situation rather than just post a no parking sign.
Well, go ahead, Ben.
So I'd like to just add to that. I was just coming on the council when residents around Los Altos High School came to the City Council and requested relief from the student parking around Los Altos High School, and the solution that they preferred were the no parking signs that were put in place. And we now have a standard process for how residents can propose that their streets be made no parking. It's a shame that we've gotten to this point. I don't think anyone's excited about having no parking around our high schools. Personally, as a resident, I would not be very happy about not being able to park in front of my own home from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. 200 school days a year. So I think there are probably better solutions, but this is where we've come to. I've been working personally since I've been on council with the high school, particularly the principal of Los Altos High School and the superintendent, to come up with some creative solutions. I suggested a carpooling program, which was successfully implemented at Gunn High School. They've done a pilot program on that. We've talked about restriping the parking lots, which they've done. You know, they need, I think, to do more. We've talked about shuttles, back to the shuttle question, from local church lots to shuttle students and faculty and staff during before and after school hours, so that again there's not the parking that's beyond the school's capacity to park on their own lot. We've looked at things like besides carpooling, we've looked at the shuttles and the many other solutions that I think the high school can come to grips with to help relieve our neighborhoods. You know, as a council, we can work with the school district. They are an independent jurisdiction that we can try to influence, but have no control over in terms of their zoning. I understand when they built Eagle Theater at the Los Altos High School, 100 parking places on their campus were lost. So I think there are solutions that we need to be more creative about. I've even heard valet parking could work. You can get double the number of cars into the same space with limited staff to organize that. So there's lots of ways, I think, to move forward on this. I'd like to see us even consider bringing back school buses. School buses can, from particularly high-density areas, high-density developments, can relieve a lot of the traffic and parking problems on the school campus, and I think that there'd be interest in funding that from a pilot program, at least from a grant perspective. So all of those things I think are ideas that I would like to see pursued, and at this point the high school has been appropriately very focused on the academics, and these 900 new students that are going to be coming to these campuses over the next 10 years are only going to exacerbate this problem, and we need to work together to come up with some real solutions beyond where we are today.